Have you ever looked into someone's eyes and felt like they were everything? Until one day you realized they were nothing. You gave her your time, your heart, your energy, only to see her walk away like none of it ever mattered. Why does it always end like that? Why do smart men, even the strongest ones, fall for women who only bring chaos into their lives? Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." And if your thoughts are painted by the wrong woman, by her drama, her vanity, her foolishness, you begin to lose the color of your soul. You start doubting your worth. You start questioning your peace. But the truth is, she didn't destroy you. You destroyed yourself by choosing someone whose actions never matched her words. So today I want you to listen, not just with your mind, but with your heart, because what you're about to hear might just save your love life, your sanity, and maybe even your soul. In this video, we'll explore the 9 signs of a stupid woman told through Marcus Aurelius' Stoic lens. This isn't about judging women, it's about understanding human behavior through wisdom that has survived thousands of years. Every sign will show you a piece of truth, harsh, maybe even painful, but necessary. If you've ever loved deeply and lost, if you've ever been manipulated or misunderstood, stay till the end, because understanding these signs will change how you see love forever. So before we begin, do one thing. Subscribe to Stoic Daily, give this video a like, and commit to watching till the very end. Not for me, but for you, because every moment you spend learning, Stoicism is a moment you take back control of your emotions. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." That includes relationships. That includes love. That includes pain. Let's take that power back. Let's begin the journey. Sign 1, she thrives on drama. Have you ever been with someone who made you feel alive, but exhausted at the same time? You loved her laughter, her passion, her wild spirit. She could turn an ordinary day into something unforgettable. But slowly, without realizing it, you began to live in her storm. Marcus Aurelius once loved a woman who had this fire. She was beautiful, clever, and charming, but her heart was restless. When he spoke of peace, she called it boring. When he sought silence, she created noise. And Marcus, the emperor of Rome, found himself battling not soldiers, but emotions. He once wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." But what happens when your thoughts are tied to someone who thrives on chaos? You might remember someone like that too. The woman who could make you smile one moment and destroy your peace the next. You'd argue, then make up. She'd cry. You'd comfort her. You'd tell yourself, this is love. But deep down, it wasn't love. It was addiction. Marcus realized that her constant drama wasn't love. It was her way of feeling significant. She didn't know how to exist without conflict. Peace scared her, and because peace meant facing herself. So she started small fires just to feel warmth. And you, like Marcus, and tried to be the calm in her storm. You'd told yourself you could fix her. But every time you put out one fire, she lit another. Marcus eventually wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." He learned that love shouldn't feel like walking on ashes. My friend, think about your own story. Do you remember the last time you loved someone who made you doubt your worth? Just to keep you close? That wasn't love, that was survival. A woman who thrives on drama doesn't love peace, because peace exposes the emptiness within her. And no man, not even a Stoic emperor, can save a woman who finds excitement in destruction. If she always needs a storm, then maybe she was never meant for your calm. Sign 2, she never takes responsibility. Have you ever loved someone who could never admit when she was wrong? No matter what happened, somehow it was always your fault. She'd twist every situation until you were the one apologizing for the very thing that broke you. Marcus Aurelius once found himself in that kind of love. A love that tested not his patience as an emperor, but his strength as a man. She was radiant, confident, and full of life. Yet whenever things went wrong between them, she'd say, "You misunderstood me," or "You made me do it." Never once did she stop to ask, "What did I do wrong?" Marcus wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. But when you love someone who refuses to look within, you begin to lose that strength piece by piece." Tell me, have you ever been there? Have you ever stayed up at night, thinking of every word you said, trying to figure out how to make things right, even though you weren't the one who caused the pain? That's what Marcus did too. He'd replay moments in his mind, searching for answers, until he realized something powerful. You can't build peace with someone who runs from truth. A woman who never takes responsibility becomes addicted to playing the victim. Every problem becomes your fault. Every mistake becomes your burden. You'll end up carrying the weight of her emotions while she walks free, blaming you for the cracks in her own soul. Marcus eventually learned that her inability to face herself wasn't weakness, and it was fear. He wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." But she never let her mistakes become her teachers. She let them become her shields. So he walked away, not in anger, but in wisdom. Because sometimes love isn't about fixing the broken. It's about protecting your peace. And maybe you felt that too, loving someone who never says, "I was wrong." Remember, my friend, love without accountability is not love at all. Because the one who never owns her mistakes will one day make you feel guilty, even for loving her. Sign 3, she values attention over connection. Have you ever loved someone who needed to be seen by everyone yet barely saw you? She'd post pictures of every moment, every coffee, every sunset, every smile. But not once did she capture the silence between you, the realness of what you felt. You gave her love, but she wanted likes. You gave her time, but she wanted attention. Marcus Aurelius once loved a woman like that. She had beauty that could quiet a room and charm that could steal a man's reason. Everywhere she went, eyes followed. She lived for admiration, not affection. And Marcus, the most powerful man in Rome, found himself invisible in her presence. He wrote, "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth." And that was her life. A performance of perspectives, never the truth. Her happiness depended on applause. When people praised her, she glowed. When they didn't, she dimmed. Tell me, have you ever felt that too? You're sitting beside her, yet she's scrolling through her phone, chasing digital affection while ignoring the warmth of your hand. You start to wonder, when did I become part of her background? Marcus tried to remind her that love isn't a show, it's a sanctuary. But she didn't understand peace. She only understood presence and being noticed, being adored. And that's when he wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself." He realized her emptiness wasn't his fault. It was her hunger for validation. A woman who values attention over connection will never know love. Because love grows in stillness, not in spotlight. She'll crave the world's gaze, not your soul's touch. And the saddest part? You'll give her everything and she'll still feel unseen. Marcus finally walked away, whispering to himself, to love only what happens, what was destined. No greater harmony. He understood that real love is not about being seen by others. It's about being felt by one. So ask yourself, are you loving someone who truly sees you? Or someone who just wants to be seen? Sign 4, she disrespects you subtly. Have you ever been with someone who never shouted at you? Never insulted you directly? Yet every word she spoke quietly cut into your heart? She'd laugh when you shared your dreams. She'd roll her eyes when you talked about your goals. And little by little she made you question yourself, not through arguments, but through subtle disrespect. Marcus Aurelius once faced that kind of love. She was beautiful, intelligent, and graceful. Yet her pride was sharper than any sword. When Marcus spoke about virtue, she smirked. When he shared his philosophy, she mocked it. And though she never raised her voice, her silence was heavy with judgment. He wrote in his meditations, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." And yet, even a Stoic emperor could feel the sting of being unseen, unheard and unappreciated. Tell me, have you ever felt that too? You try to share something that matters to you, maybe a passion, a dream, or even a simple story. And she looks away, scrolling through her phone, pretending not to hear. You smile it off, but inside, a quiet voice whispers, "Maybe I'm not enough." That's how it begins. Not with screaming, but with subtle erosion. A stupid woman disrespects in small ways, through sarcasm, through dismissive comments, through pretending your efforts mean nothing. And every time she does, you shrink a little more, until you forget who you were before her. Marcus learned that love without respect is like a palace built on sand. He wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive. But how can a man feel that privilege when the person beside him makes him feel small?" Eventually, Marcus stopped defending himself. He realized that true love doesn't compete, it complements. He stayed calm but distant, not out of pride but peace. So my friend, ask yourself, and are you loved or are you being quietly diminished? Because sometimes the sharpest knives don't scream, they whisper. and a woman who mocks your dreams doesn't deserve to live in them. Sign 5. She plays the victim to control you. Have you ever loved someone who could turn every situation into a tragedy? Where she's always the victim, no matter how much you tried to make things right. Somehow, she was always the one who was hurt, misunderstood, or betrayed. You tried to explain yourself, but the more you spoke, the more guilty you felt. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. But what happens when the person you love reacts to everything like the world is ending?" Marcus knew a woman like that. She was tender, emotional, and full of drama. Not the kind that screams, but the kind that weeps. Whenever he set a boundary, she'd cry. Whenever he disagreed, she'd say, "You don't love me anymore." And Marcus, despite being an emperor, felt powerless in front of her tears. Tell me, have you ever been there? You say something honest, and suddenly you're the villain. You miss one call, and when she says, "You don't care." You try to speak truth, and she says, "You're hurting me." And before you know it, you're apologizing for things you never did. Marcus later wrote, "When you blame others, you give up your power to change." And that's exactly what she did. She lived off blame. Her weakness became her weapon, and her pain became a performance. She didn't want solutions. She wanted sympathy. And Marcus, the philosopher king, finally saw the truth. A woman who always plays the victim doesn't want peace, she wants control. Because as long as she's the one suffering, you'll always be the one chasing, fixing and trying to make her feel better. But love is not a rescue mission. It's a partnership. Marcus walked away when he realized that pity is not love and guilt is not connection. He wrote, "If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change." But she never wanted to change. She wanted power through pain. So my friend, ask yourself, are you comforting her because she's hurt? Or because she's holding your heart hostage? Remember, a woman who always plays the victim can never love you. She only loves being saved. Sign 6, she doesn't respect your boundaries. Have you ever loved someone so deeply that you started forgetting where you ended and she began? You gave her your time, your attention, your energy, even when you were tired, busy, or mentally drained. And still, she wanted more. More of your time, more of your attention, more of your peace. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." But what happens when your soul starts losing its own color? Because someone else keeps crossing your boundaries? Marcus had such a woman in his life, beautiful, passionate, but consuming. At first, her constant presence felt like love. She wanted to know everything, where he went, who he spoke to, what he thought. And Marcus, being gentle at heart, mistook that control for care. But love that demands constant access is not love. It's ownership. He remembered one evening, sitting in his study after a long day. He needed silence, just a few moments with his thoughts, with his writings, with himself. But she barged in angry. "Why do you always need time alone?" she asked. Marcus looked up quietly and said, "Because a man who never spends time with himself forgets who he is." Let me ask you something. Have you ever had a moment like that? When you just needed a little space to breathe, to think, to rest, but she made you feel guilty for it? Like your peace was a betrayal? That's not love. That's emotional invasion. Marcus realized that boundaries are not walls. They are doors that protect love, not block it. When she couldn't respect that, he understood what Stoicism always taught. If someone disrespects your peace, they don't truly value your presence. He later wrote in Meditations, "Never let the noise of others' opinions drown out your inner voice." That noise can sometimes come from the person you love the most. So ask yourself, does she listen when you say, "I need space"? Or does she take your silence as rejection? Because real love respects distance. Fake love fears it. And the woman who can't respect your boundaries will one day trample your soul. Not because she hates you, but because she never learned to love without control. Marcus chose peace over pleasing. And so should you. Sign 7, she makes you doubt your worth. Have you ever been in love with someone who slowly made you question your own value? At first, her words felt sweet, her compliments like music. She told you she admired your strength, your calm, your patience. But as time went on, those words faded. The admiration turned into criticism, and without even realizing it, you started to shrink. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to love, to enjoy. But when the wrong person enters your life, you stop feeling that privilege. You wake up doubting if you're even enough." There was a woman in Marcus's life who loved the idea of him. the philosopher, the emperor, the wise man, but not the real Marcus. She compared him constantly. She'd say, "You speak wisely to others, but why can't you understand me?" She'd laugh at his silences, mock his simplicity, and criticize his calmness. And Marcus, though powerful in Rome, felt small in his own home. Tell me honestly, have you ever felt that? That quiet pain when the person you love most makes you feel invisible? When every effort you make goes unnoticed? When your best isn't enough? When your love feels like it's being measured by impossible standards? That's the cruelty of a woman who doesn't value your worth. She doesn't crush you all at once. She does it piece by piece, word by word, glance by glance. One night Marcus wrote in his journal, "A man's worth is not measured by the opinion of others, but by his own soul's virtue." He had finally understood that no one, not even the woman you love, should have the power to define your worth. He didn't leave her out of anger. He left her out of clarity, because he realized that love should build, not break. Inspire, not exhaust. So I'll ask you this. Have you forgotten your worth because someone made you feel replaceable? Because if love makes you doubt yourself, it's not love, it's emotional erosion. Marcus learned that when a woman truly loves you, she reminds you of who you are and not what you lack. And if she can't see your value, it's time to stop begging her to look and start remembering who you were before she made you forget. Sign 8. She uses love as a weapon. Have you ever been in a relationship where love felt like a trap? Where every disagreement turned into emotional punishment? Where silence became her sword and affection her battlefield? One day she's warm, the next day cold. One moment she says, "I love you," the next she says, "Maybe we're not meant to be." And you, confused and exhausted, start wondering, what did I do wrong this time? Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." But what if the person you love becomes your emotional enemy? Not by hate, but by manipulation? There was a time in Marcus's life when the woman he loved began to use his affection as leverage. Whenever Marcus disagreed with her or stood by his principles, she would retreat into silence. She'd say, "You don't love me the way I need." Those words pierced him like arrows. And like any man who loves deeply, he tried harder, more attention, more patience, more sacrifice. But the more he gave, the less she respected him. Because love, when used as a weapon, isn't meant to build, it's meant to control. Have you ever felt that, my friend? That ache of loving someone who uses your own love against you, who says "I love you" only when you obey, and withholds affection when you stand up for yourself? That's not love, that's emotional warfare. Marcus once reflected, "To love only what happens, what was destined." No greater harmony. It means love should bring peace, not chaos. He realized her affection came with conditions, but true love never demands surrender of the soul. So one evening, he looked at her and said softly, "If love must punish, then it ceases to be love." Think about that. How many times have you stayed quiet just to avoid another argument? How many times have you apologized just to feel loved again? That's not peace, and that's fear disguised as devotion. Marcus learned that love is not a weapon to win control. It's a bridge to share peace. The moment she used love to manipulate, he saw the truth. She didn't want partnership. She wanted power. And if you're in that situation right now, remember this. The person who truly loves you will never use your love against you. They'll guard it, protect it, and cherish it, not as leverage, but as something sacred. Sign 9, she can't handle accountability. Have you ever been with someone who never admits when they're wrong? No matter what happens, somehow it's always your fault. You say something innocent and suddenly she's offended. You try to explain and she twists your words. And before you know it, you're the one apologizing on again. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If anyone can show me my mistake, I will gladly change, for I seek the truth." But what happens when the person you love refuses to do the same? What happens when truth itself becomes unwelcome in love? There was a woman in Marcus's life who had beauty, charm, and wit, but no mirror for her own flaws. Every argument ended with tears, blame, or silence. If Marcus spoke calmly, she'd say, "You don't care enough." If he raised his voice, she'd say, "You're cruel." No matter what he did, he lost. Because a relationship without accountability is not love. It's a cycle of emotional blame. Let me ask you, have you ever been in that cycle? When you know she's wrong, but saying it only makes things worse? When you carry guilt for things you didn't even do, just to keep the peace? That's not peace. That's quiet suffering. Marcus learned this lesson the hard way. He wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. And that's what he did. He chose integrity over ego, calm over chaos. One night, after another argument where she turned every truth into accusation, Marcus simply walked away, not out of anger, but out of exhaustion. He realized something profound. You can't teach accountability to someone who finds comfort in denial. You can't heal a relationship when one person refuses to look in the mirror. So my friend, ask yourself this. Does she ever say, "You're right, I was wrong"? Or does she always find a way to make you the villain in every story? Marcus understood that love without accountability becomes manipulation disguised as emotion, because a woman who can't own her mistakes will never truly value your forgiveness. He left not because he stopped loving her, but because he finally started loving himself. And that's the hardest lesson of all, and sometimes the most stoic act of love is walking away from the one who never admits when she's wrong. Conclusion. So, my friend, after hearing these 9 signs, I want you to pause for a moment. Think about your past, or maybe your present. Did you recognize her in any of these stories? The woman who disrespected your peace, made you doubt your worth, used your love as a weapon, and never took accountability? Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." And that includes the thoughts you allow love to shape. Love is supposed to build your soul, not break it. It should give you strength, not strip you of it. The Stoic truth is simple. A man who loves wisely chooses peace over drama, growth over chaos, and clarity over confusion. Marcus learned that walking away from the wrong woman isn't failure, it's wisdom. It's the decision to protect your soul before it gets poisoned by pain disguised as passion. Because sometimes self-respect is the highest form of love. If this message spoke to your heart, if you saw even a glimpse of your story in Marcus's words, and then my friend, don't just scroll away. Take this as your sign. Reflect, heal, rise. And before you go, make sure you subscribe to our channel, Stoic Daily Word, where we don't just talk about love, we transform it through Stoic wisdom and truth. Hit that like button, because it tells YouTube that this message deserves to reach others who are silently suffering the same pain you once felt. And most importantly, watch this video till the end. Again, if you must, because sometimes clarity doesn't hit once. It hits when your soul is ready. You are not alone. Marcus Aurelius walked through heartbreak and came out stronger, and so will you. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time, stay wise, stay grounded, stay stoic.